Okay. Hello, my name is Matei. I am a former college student, current street scholar, trying to learn by doing. And I was looking at my calendar the other day and realized that it is almost May 1st, National Decision, College Decision Day. And it brought me back to that time, not that many years ago, when I was a high school senior. I didn't have that many options, per se, of like places to go, but it was still a big decision, choosing where to go. And so I thought I would be here kind of like big sister mentor vibes and offer some guidance as somebody who has been through this process. I've worked in college admissions as a college student and as like a post grad. So I've thought about college a lot. And I feel like I have a good list of things that are actually important and that you actually want to consider when you choose a school. So here is my list. Again, what are my credentials? I've been to college, I'm a person, I'm a friend. Little bit of context, I am the class of 2025, graduated May 2025, and I majored in international studies and I minored in French and data science. Let's just start here, okay? This is also like a love letter, a handhold moment to all my low income, BIPOC, black and brown, especially high school seniors. Because I was you. I am you. I'm just not in high school anymore. And so, first of all, this should be an exciting thing. It shouldn't be stressful, as crazy as it is. And I feel like, I don't know, to ease any stress right off the bat, I had a wonderful college experience and I never visited my college. I didn't even know what majors they offered when I came. I just got really lucky, I will say. I got lucky and I randomly went to a good school or whatever, but things work out, things find a way of working out, and what's meant for you will be yours. So, I guess right off the bat, don't freak out if you feel like you don't like any of your options or if you don't have the means to visit, because, like I said, I just packed my bags and pulled up. And it was a wonderful thing for me. Obviously, first thing is cost, right? I know you probably know this deep down, but I will be another person to tell you, your confirmation, you do not need to go to the most expensive school. Even if it's the most quote unquote prestigious brand name, whatever. Don't do it. Don't do it. I remember I got into Loyola University Chicago, and my mom was so excited for me. My mom didn't go to college. And I'm from Missouri, right? So we're like in Missouri in this country bumpkin, small town, super white, not much to do. And she's super excited for me. She's like, of course you should go. And they were like, we're offering you the best scholarship. And with that, it's going to be $20K a year. And so obviously I was like, oh, no, and my mom, super not loan averse. And she was like, fuck it, like, do it, go. And I was like, no. But I don't know. I think all that to say initially, there can be a lot of things that make you think that maybe it's worth it, right? Maybe it's because it's an Ivy or a huge brand name. Maybe you're like, it's a great opportunity. It's away from home. Da-da-da-da. I just think these days it's so possible to go to a 4-year college without debt or with limited debt. And so why would you not do that? Save the debt for grad school, because we should go to grad school, right? If we want to, if we feel like we need to. Education's a wonderful thing, right? Despite all the problems with academia. But yeah, this is your reminder. You don't have to go to the most expensive school. I think other things to think about too, in terms of cost, right? Even if the initial offer is reasonable, what is the on-campus living requirement? A lot of colleges are changing that these days. It used to be like 2 years. Some colleges, my alma mater, whatever, however you say that, is changing it to a 3-year on-campus living requirement, and that's going to impact how much you have to pay. One way that I was really able to hack college was, as soon as I was eligible, I moved. I was still on campus, and my school gave me like a financial aid grant, like an additional grant if you lived on campus. It was like the on-campus living residence grant, so that helped. But I was living somewhere with a kitchen, so I had that grant, but I didn't have to pay for a meal plan. And once I was able to hack it that way, I basically was going to college for free. So that's something to consider, right? what is the on-campus setup? Do they have places with kitchens? You want to look into that. And to just, it is good to know. I don't know if it has to be make or break, but it's something to consider if you do plan to live off campus, if off campus living is the norm, or maybe you have to at a certain point. What do those rent prices look like in the area that you're living in? Just something to think about. Rent could be astronomical. I know for me, I went to school in the Twin Cities, so it's like Midwestern city vibes, which is not that bad. But the killer was heat. Heat is hella expensive in the winter because it's cold as hell for like half the year. So these are, things to keep in mind. Okay, I feel like this is another basic one, right? Location and demographic. Honestly, I would say if you have the privilege to do so, to consider these things, I would consider it. It was really important to me that I did not go to school in a really rural area because I'm from a small college town and I wanted to experience more diversity. I got to ride public transit for the first time when I was in St. Paul, Minneapolis. I experienced city vibes for the first time, and that was really big for my growth. There was a lot more opportunities, ways to get involved in the community, people that look like me. So those are things to keep in mind, especially, if you're somebody that's not going to have access to a car. Just think about that if you're going to be going to school in a really rural area. What I will say is, I think, because I had this idea, I really want to go to a massive school. I want to go to a public university, just like huge, huge, huge. And that's definitely not what ended up happening. So I think in this same conversation about location, demographic, I'd also say size. I'm remembering myself. Size is huge. I think I wanted that because I craved the social aspect. I craved meeting people, but I was still able to do that. And I know myself, and I'm so glad I went to a small school. My school in total is probably about 2,100 students. It's undergrad only. My biggest class was maybe 40 students. Looking back, I cannot imagine myself in a lecture hall. I ask so many questions, and that's not possible. In a class of that size, you're not going to get the same attention to teachers. You also put less work on yourself because eventually we are all going to need letters of recs for something, job, scholarship, whatever it may be. Of course, it's going to be easier and it's going to be a better letter if you were a standout student in a class of 20 people than 200, So definitely keep that in mind. I just think the potential for making connections with professors and actually learning the material, and honestly making those in-class connections, it's so much greater in a smaller classroom. So definitely biased against that. And I feel like on the upside of that too, this is, I guess, one of those things to think about. I think this is both in a small school, but also if you're going to a college that's like undergrad only, not being taught by TAs, what's the chances at that big university with 200 people you're being taught by the professor? I went to a school where we were never taught by TAs, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So that was nice and something I never had to worry about. But there is good and bad professors everywhere. But again, just things to think about. We're having a discussion here. This is a conversation as best it can be when the two people are not in the same room. Another important one that I feel like it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. At least I didn't know a lot of things, but I didn't even know this is something you should be thinking about. But summer opportunities. And yes, you talk about and you hear the classic ones of like, what do students do over the summer, and where do they intern, and where do they work, and we have X amount of Fortune 500 companies in our city, da da da. That's all good and dandy. That's the easy stuff to look up. The stuff that takes the real research is things like, what kind of institutional grants do they offer? Do they offer research grants? If so, are those only available to STEM majors? For example, I went to liberal arts school, and I got a research grant that traditionally was given to STEM focused projects. I literally got funded at my school to study hip hop in Senegal. Okay, like what opportunities do you have to be very entrepreneurial, to kind of create your own projects, experiences? Are they open to you because of your majors or minors? Are they restricted to you? How competitive is it? Who are you competing against? Are you going to be competing against grad students? Are you going to be competing against 5,000 other students? For me, that was an advantage of going to an undergrad only school. And, every class is probably about 500 or so people. Yes, there's competition, but if you do the work, you do the prep, you do what you need to do, you got a good shot. And that's just not always the case at other colleges with different contexts, in the character of the school. I think another thing I would look into is what kind of departmental funding grants do they have for, it could be projects over the school year, but also over the summer. A big one for me was I would go, and I didn't know this until I was in college, but you can go to different departments. So like history department, art department, chemistry department, geology department, and you can see what type of grants they offer to their majors, and then they'll probably also specify if this is open specifically to only history majors or others. I think sometimes it's common for it to be like, you don't have to be a history major, but your project has to be related to history, or maybe you have to be advised by a history professor in the department. So those are things to think about, right? How am I going to be really locked into my department? Is there, reach across departments and organizations at campus where you can get support, do things? I think that's all very important. Even like knowing what kind of departments exist outside of academic departments. For example, my school had a entrepreneurship and innovation department. I feel like it had flown under the radar. A lot of people did not utilize it, and they had grants. They had entrepreneurial grants. They had go build your own project in whatever country grant. I did that. Super fun. So what kind of things for entrepreneurship? And I don't mean that in the sense of like, I'm gonna go start a business. I mean it in the purest sense of creativity in college, which I think is so important and can make it a transformative experience. And that's why till the day I die, or at least for right now, 100% go to college. Okay, I've seen some stuff, college is not worth it anymore. Go to college, not only because the majority of jobs, just a couple years ago I looked it up, Bureau of Labor Statistics, majority of jobs do require at least a bachelor's degree, right? There is like a split, right? And obviously there's a salary difference as well, but so much personal growth can happen. And that's what these questions that you ask yourself before you choose a college can help ensure that you get that most growth possible. Yeah, in addition to like cool departments, I think if you have the time, try and look into any cool like scholarships or programs that they're connected to. Maybe they're connected to a consortium of other colleges. For example, I went to private school in Minnesota. Apparently, I didn't know this, there's like Minnesota private colleges scholarships and also like really cool summer programs where you apply, and if you are selected, you'll get a certain amount of money and you can create your own project. That's super cool. And so those are things you can look up, what are they a part of? We were connected to like this really cool grant, which anybody can look up, but it's called the Davis Projects for Peace. And that's like $10,000 that you get over the summer, and you get to go build your own project anywhere. And so a lot of these kind of fringe things where it's kind of inevitable, some of them you're only going to learn about once you get there, but it can get you excited about your school. And again, more research the better. The more free money available, the better. So I'm always a big proponent. Look up all the free money that exists at this school, that it's connected to, that it has tunnels and funnels ways into. Oh, before I forget, for all of these grants and opportunities and things, I think it's always fun to be able to see what are the limitations on it. Like, can you do these projects or whatever things outside the US? I got to spend every summer that I was in college outside the United States because my college was pretty cool and they let you do it domestically and internationally. I'm also a big proponent for domestic development, TM on that one, trademark, okay? So there's nothing wrong with staying in the United States, but it's something to consider, especially if you're neck and neck, pros and cons. It's just good information to know. This is another big one. Study away. I did not know this until I was really in the admissions world. I worked in admissions for 3 years when I was a college student in my own admissions office. Study away, study abroad. Can you use your financial aid that you're receiving for your domestic attendance at your school? can you use that financial aid during study away? You might be like, duh, I would hope so. We would all like to hope so, but apparently that's not the case. I remember when I was applying to school about 5 years ago now, 5 or 6, wow, no, almost 7. Wow, almost 7 years ago. Anyways, I'm class of 2025. Maybe I should have prefaced with that. I'm a class of 2025 college grad. Was it Boston University did not allow financial aid to be used towards study away? So this is something really important to consider. I'm a really big proponent for study away. I think it was transformative for me. And again, study away, that inclusivity right there. Your experience doesn't have to be outside the United States. There's so much to learn inside the US. In fact, there was an amazing program, and it's like you sail on the Mississippi for a semester, and you like camp outside and shit, and you learn about indigenous culture. Great. So not just leaving the United States, but study away is a good thing, I think, at the baseline. Learning from a different place, space, people. Look into it. How expensive is it at your school? How often do people do it? I think it's really cool when a lot of people do it, when it's something that's advertised, because that usually means there's more support for it. Anything can be done. I'm a firm believer in you and you doing everything that you want to do. Right? But it's always harder when somebody's not there to help you, or that infrastructure does not exist. So I would definitely look into that, and make sure the financials make sense. Yeah. This is reminding me, I applied to Howard, and I wanted to apply to Howard, and I was looking up stuff, and somebody had a review of like, the financial aid office is terrible. And that scared me so bad. As a poor student, I decided not to apply. So I think that's important. Like at my school, the financial aid office, the hours were very clear, very professional. They were always there, always responded to your emails. Anytime I wanted to try and hack the system and get something for cheaper, like my semester or whatever, and I was doing different calculations, like what if I live here and I don't have a meal plan and I only do this? I could ask them, and they would send me financial aid estimates. I did this a lot when I was considering different study away programs. I was like, here's this program if I stayed in an apartment versus a homestay. And the assistant director was amazing. She gave me all these estimates of, here's what the cost would be if you did XYZ options. So honestly, I just feel like as a poor student, that's important. I think that's important to not feel isolated, to feel somewhat in control of your destiny, so that things are not a surprise. So that is something worth looking into. How responsive is their financial aid department? Because if you're like me, you might be in there frequently. I feel like this is number 5. It's like a flexible 5, but this is a really big one that I just recently remembered to add on to this. And this goes into the type of college, university, school you're going to attend. I did not know the difference. I'm gonna be honest, I still don't know 100% the difference between all of them. But the gist is, you have liberal arts schools, you have science, STEM, engineering focused types of schools, you have public research universities. There is kind of a diverse array of schools out there. And you have also, like mine, not only are they liberal arts, but they're also like undergrad only. Something to think about is, how easy is it going to be to explore? I think obviously this is different on a case-by-case basis. If you feel so strongly right now that you want to be a veterinarian, that's amazing. I just want you to have grace with yourself, and also respect the fact, and be realistic about the fact that you're 17 years old, 18 years old, right? Or more or less, right? That could change. Don't box yourself in. It's totally okay, reasonable, smart even, to choose a school based on their offerings. Like if you're like, I'm feeling really interested in this program, they have a pre-law program that's great, definitely something to consider. But also, what if you change your mind? Or what if you also want to get really into philosophy or biology? And so, for example, I was completely undecided. I'm still undecided in life, but undecided in major when I went to my school. Like I told you, I didn't even know what majors they had. And it really didn't matter because it was a liberal arts school. And for us, literally changing your major was as easy as you go online to our website, onto your personal, dashboard or whatever, and you like just change it. Like, it's so easy. Or you just talk to your advisor. And our prereqs, we definitely had prereqs, but it wasn't so rigid, traditionally rigid, in the way that prereqs at a public university might be. For example, it wasn't so much 2 sciences, 2 maths, 2 English. It was a little bit more loosey-goosey. Like, yes, you have to get quantitative thinking, but you can do that with coding, or you can do that with economics, macroeconomics. You can do that with learning about volcanoes or learning about dinosaurs. And I thought that was cool. And I think that when you go to a school, I know not to like push liberal arts on anybody, kind of am, but it's just a little bit less work for you too, because that exploration is built into the credit structure. I can't imagine, like, if I had went to a school like a big university and you have to apply to your major, or to switch your major, it's a big deal. Like, you got to apply. What if they say no? So I really enjoyed that flexibility, and I do think it's something to consider. And no matter where you go, explore as much as you can. Do the classes in departments that you would never even think of doing. Really challenge yourself in that way. Highly recommend. Now I have some kind of peripheral things, if that's how you say that I don't really think matter. Again, obviously there's some caveats to this, context dependent, person dependent, but I don't think majors and minors are that big of a deal. Obviously, should every school have a Black Studies major? Yeah. Are they going to? No. Okay, because this is America. So, if you feel really strongly about that, 100% support that you go to a school with a robust Black Studies or whatever specialized program major, right? That's important, and that's cool. But I think more generally, in general, every school is probably going to have sociology. Every school is going to have psychology, biology, chemistry, the ones that they've deemed like acceptable and standardized. So I don't think that should necessarily be a make or break. Again, it depends, but just don't put so much stress on that of like, oh my God, like, I don't know my major, and this school has this one and this school has this one. I mean, you're going to figure it out, right? And nothing's linear. This does not cement anything in your life. And narrative is such a powerful thing in the professional world, in college, as you're building up your resume. It really does not matter what your major or minor is in. Like, it matters what the narrative is. What is the narrative you're painting behind all of these experiences and classes that you will have accumulated? That's another thing that I want to put in here, just like a reminder or a note, because I really struggled with this. Maybe if you're already in college, I don't know why you would be watching this video, but seniors, as you decide throughout college what to major or minor in, keep in mind that something can be just as useful even if it's not one of your majors, or you can be just as skilled in it. For example, I always knew that I wanted to do French in college because I've been doing French since middle school, and I wanted that to be communicated to employers, and I just wanted it to be a big focus in my education. But that also meant a French thesis, like a French capstone, 2 capstones. So I really battled with this question of, do I double major? Is it necessary for my goals? And I definitely did not need to be a French major to be proficient in French, to do French research. I was a French minor, and I studied away in a Francophone country. I studied away in Senegal. I went back and won a research grant to go do research there. And my French is like as good as it's ever been, the best it's ever been, and I'm still a French minor. This is another thing, okay? Even the decision to I made this my junior year, I think, or the end of my sophomore year, to be a data science minor. So that decision to add a data science minor came when I was like, I feel like I'm insecure about being just like a social science, humanities major. I want to be competitive in the job market. This is the problem with academia. Super, disconnected from the job market and things like that, and they just think everything's lollygolly, happy goosey, shits and giggles, and it's not. I had so many professors, so many people being like, "Oh, you have like a degree from this school, like everything will be fine." First of all, nobody knows what the school is unless they live in this state. Second of all, like objectively, yes, I can tell you right now, this is your confirmation. If for some reason you're a current college student and you're watching this is your confirmation. And if you're a high school senior, this is your word of caution or encouragement. Do the STEM minor. Like, there's literally no reason not to. The skills that I learned as a data science minor literally opened up an entire new job field for me. And none of my professors told me that. Not even my career exploration department at my college could tell me that. So I'm letting you know, okay? Even if you know a little bit of R, you just have opened yourself up to all the social science jobs that require or strongly prefer somebody with R, coding and R experience. So do it, okay? And other things that don't really matter, the food. I can't tell you how many students I gave tours to and I would do panels and they'd be like, "So tell me, like, how was the food?" It's pretty ass. And what about it? It must be nice for that to be the least of your concerns. I envy that a little bit. So again, you know, the food is probably going to be ass. It's probably going to be trash unless you go to like an Ivy or something, or a school that's just known to have good food. Just, it's cafeteria food. It's not going to be that good, okay? So I feel like that shouldn't even be a question. The party scene, sports scenes. I mean, listen. In theory, you should be studious, you know, and honestly, I don't know how you're going to have enough time to really think about party scenes and all of that. For me, what I had at my school was enough. I did school Monday through Friday, did my work, internship, whatever, and there was always something going on a Saturday or Sunday. It was a small school, little house party, little get together. There was like 18 plus dance nights at clubs and venues in the city, like in Minneapolis, that we would go to. And then once you're 21, literally you can go to any bar. So I really don't think that should be a decisive factor. Like, that should be one of the absolute last things, or non-list things. Obviously, you know, if your school's known to, I don't know any school in the country. Well, maybe if it's a super religious school and it's just not allowed, I don't know, maybe that's a factor. But I feel like you're a college student. College students always find a way to have a good time. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, sports and stuff, I guess, sure, if that's like really important to you, seeing a game and not having to pay the non-student price, like if that's important to you, I guess, weigh it. I just don't think it's that big of a deal, especially if you're in a metro area. Like, our sports, we were a D3 school, you know, so I wasn't making plans on Friday night to go see a basketball game. Other people were. That's fine. That's amazing. We got like discounted NBA tickets, so I went to go see the Timberwolves, you know, off campus. They got a baseball field in that city. They got a soccer field. So, I mean, if you're not watching college sports, you could go see professional athletics in the city that you're in. Okay. The last one. Prestige. I feel like this is the curse, literally the curse of a high achieving, low income college student, high school senior, honestly, all high schoolers in general. Fuck prestige. Okay? I promise you, I'm telling you right now, it does not matter. I don't want to hear, "I'm so depressed because I didn't get into a top 3 or a top 20 or a top 50. It's going to be okay. Okay? I'm here to tell you that. It's not that big of a deal. And if anything, I mean, I just feel like there's so many complexities that come with going to an Ivy school or like one of these super whatever lists. Also, those lists are rigged. Okay? Just look it up. It's rigged. It's who's determining this stuff, I don't know. You don't know either. We don't know. Nobody knows. But it doesn't really matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. I feel like there's nothing even more to say. Like, you can still go on and accomplish many things. If you have a school that's supportive and there's resources, and they're going to connect you to resources, that's all that matters. I don't care if it's on some list or something. Obviously, it's nice in the networking and personal world to like say the name of your school and people know it. But if they don't, who gives a damn? Who gives a damn? Especially when you graduated debt free. Am I right? I think the only sort of things about prestige that are important or cool to look into are things like, for example, and obviously I keep using my own college. I still don't know how to say that word. Alma mater, because I just went there and because that's my school. So that's my frame of reference. But I think these are good examples. My school it's something like a top producing Fulbright scholar school. That's interesting, right? That's something to consider, because what does it show? It shows, and if you don't know Fulbright, it's cool scholarship. It goes both ways. U.S. students can go and either teach English or do research in other countries, and Fulbright also brings international students to the United States, and it's considered very prestigious in the academic world. So if you're going to grad school, PhD, or even like master's, things like that, it's seen as good on your resume. And it's seen as basically a respectable way to fuck around. A respectable gap year, which is super elitist, but it's the truth. Especially, for the like English language teaching, whatever one, where you go to another country and you teach kids English instead of doing that here in the United States, which there's a need here as well. But I digress. Anyways, yeah, that's interesting to know, right? And what does it show? It shows, okay, like this school has connections to this prestigious scholarship, and there's support at the school to help students attain that. That type of information about prestige, I think, is relevant. But in general, as far as these lists and things like that, I don't think it matters that much. That's basically my list. I know that was a lot of information. College is a crazy thing. I think what I'll also say is, I don't know who's gonna watch this, but in case you need to hear this, it's okay not to love your school. That was a really, really difficult thing for me to understand, especially once I got to my school and you see people posting all these pictures on Instagram like, I love it. And I'm like, I mean, it seems okay, but how can you love a college? I don't know. And at the end of the day, colleges are institutions, okay? They're for-profit institutions. Why would you love an institution? What are you, a robot? A lizard person? So that's completely normal. As long as you feel like like you have the tools you need to graduate, be supported, grow as a person, excel in your classes. And of course, there's always going to be barriers to that as a Black or brown student, and especially if you're a low income student, right? So no college will ever be perfect and be able to support you fully. Honestly, even HBCUs, right? I mean, you see all these news stories about the ways that their students are not supported because it's a for-profit institution at the end of the day. But it's okay not to love your school. It's okay to be like, yeah, I'm content here. I like it. It's okay to not feel like you're in rose-tinted colored glasses. It's a choice. It's a practical choice, like many other things in life. And that's not to say that you should be miserable or settle necessarily. It's okay to dream big and want big things for yourself and new experiences, but just know it's 100% okay to not feel that love connection for a business. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, please reach out. I'm here to help. I enjoy doing this and I enjoy helping so much because it's what I wish I would have had when I was in high school. I did get a lot of help, but still, like, it's never fun to have to make the blueprint for yourself. So as much as I can help somebody else, I'd love to do that. I'm always on Reddit too, replying to I'm like a QuestBridge scholar, all these things, right? So I'm on all those groups. But yeah, thanks for watching. And if you have any requests of things that you'd like me to speak on as well, this is like collaborative, so I'd love to hear things that interest you. This is Street Scholar, right? This is crowdsourcing knowledge. Let's do it together. If more college things interests you, post-grad stuff, I will be doing a video on post-grad. Life topics, academic topics. Let's talk about academia outside the classroom. Liberalized knowledge. Okay. Have fun on May 1st. Good luck. Ciao.